Welcome to the Rebellion Global. Today, we delve into the alarming connection between extreme weather events and climate change. Across the globe, from the icy poles to the scorching deserts, our planet is sending us a message carried on the winds of increasingly violent storms, written in the parched earth of prolonged droughts, and etched into the rising tides that threaten our coastlines. Let's explore the key takeaways, examining the science behind this changing world and its impact on life as we know it. It's a story of escalating risks, but also one of resilience, adaptation, and the potential for positive change. Join me as we journey to understand the intricate link between extreme weather and climate change and discover what we can do to secure a future for all. Our planet's climate has always been in flux, a delicate dance of change over millennia. Yet the pace of change we are witnessing today is unprecedented, driven by human activity. Greenhouse gases trap more heat, causing the planet to warm. This warming effect drives the increase in extreme weather events. Heat waves are now more frequent and intense. Torrential rains cause widespread flooding. Climate change is not only making extreme weather events more frequent, but it is also amplifying their intensity. Imagine a storm, fueled by the warm, moist air that a warmer atmosphere holds. This storm, now supercharged, unleashes its fury with unprecedented force. Hurricanes, cyclones, and typhoons, once formidable but predictable forces of nature, are now morphing into monstrous storms with wind speeds that defy previous records. The warmer atmosphere acts as a giant sponge, soaking up moisture from the oceans. This excess moisture, when released, translates into heavier rainfall, leading to catastrophic flooding. The same heat that fuels these storms also exacerbates droughts. As temperatures rise, the air becomes drier, pulling moisture from the soil and vegetation. This parched earth becomes a tinderbox, primed for wildfires that rage with terrifying intensity. These intensified weather events are not just abstract scientific concepts, they are a devastating reality for millions of people around the world. Heat waves, silent killers that they are, often don't make the headlines that other natural disasters command. Yet, their impact is no less devastating. Prolonged periods of extreme heat, amplified by climate change, are becoming more common and more severe. Imagine cities transformed into concrete ovens, where the elderly, the vulnerable, and the poor swelter in homes without adequate ventilation or cooling. Heat stress, heat stroke, and respiratory illnesses rise sharply, overwhelming healthcare systems already strained by the increasing frequency of these events. The impact extends beyond human health. Crops wither and die in the unrelenting heat, threatening food security and livelihoods, particularly in developing countries. Forests, stressed by the heat and lack of moisture, become more susceptible to wildfires, releasing even more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and creating a vicious cycle of warming. The rising mercury is a stark reminder of the urgent need to address climate change and mitigate its deadly consequences. The polar regions, once pristine landscapes of ice and snow, are now stark reminders of a planet in peril. As global temperatures rise, glaciers and ice sheets melt at an alarming rate, adding vast quantities of water to our oceans. This melting ice, combined with the thermal expansion of water as it warms, causes sea levels to rise, threatening coastal communities around the world. Low-lying islands, home to millions of people, face an existential threat, their very existence hanging in the balance. Coastal cities, once bustling centers of commerce and culture, are increasingly vulnerable to flooding, storm surges, and erosion. The economic and social costs of these events are staggering, displacing communities, destroying infrastructure, and disrupting livelihoods. In mountainous regions, the combination of melting glaciers, heavy rainfall, and deforestation increases the risk of landslides. These devastating events send torrents of mud and debris crashing down slopes, burying villages and claiming countless lives. In the heartlands of continents far from the rising tides, a different kind of disaster unfolds: drought. Once fertile lands, now parched and cracked, bear witness to the changing patterns of rainfall brought about by climate change. Rivers and lakes, once lifelines for communities and ecosystems, dwindle to mere trickles, their beds exposed like open wounds. Farmers, their livelihoods dependent on the whims of the weather, watch helplessly as their crops wither and die, their hopes for a bountiful harvest dashed against the unforgiving reality of drought. As the land dries out, the risk of wildfires increases exponentially. forests, once lush and vibrant, become tinderboxes, waiting for a spark to ignite a conflagration. Fueled by strong winds and an abundance of dry vegetation, these wildfires rage with terrifying intensity, consuming everything in their path. The smoke from these fires, a thick blanket of haze, chokes the air, posing serious health risks to those living far beyond the immediate fire zone. The consequences of climate change extend far beyond the immediate impact of extreme weather events. As the frequency and intensity of these events increase, they are forcing millions of people from their homes, creating a new wave of climate migrants and refugees. Imagine entire communities uprooted, their homes and livelihoods swallowed by rising seas or reduced to ashes by wildfires. These climate migrants, often fleeing from the most vulnerable regions of the world, face an uncertain future. Many seek refuge in neighboring countries or within their own borders, putting a strain on resources and social services. The displacement of people due to climate change is not just a humanitarian crisis. It is a complex issue with far-reaching social, economic, and political ramifications. It is a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of our world and the urgent need for global cooperation to address the challenges posed by climate change. The economic toll of extreme weather events is staggering and continues to rise each year. Hurricanes, floods, droughts, and wildfires leave a trail of destruction in their wake, damaging infrastructure, disrupting supply chains, and impacting global markets. Imagine the cost of rebuilding cities devastated by hurricanes, of repairing roads and bridges washed away by floods, of compensating farmers for crops lost to drought. These costs, often borne by governments and insurance companies, are ultimately passed on to consumers through higher prices and taxes. The impact on global food systems is particularly concerning. Extreme weather events can disrupt agricultural production, leading to food shortages and price spikes. This volatility in food prices can have a devastating impact on poor and vulnerable populations who spend a large proportion of their income on food. The economic consequences of climate change are far-reaching, affecting not only individual nations but also the stability of the global economy. The natural world, a delicate tapestry of interconnected ecosystems, is also feeling the heat of climate change. From the poles to the tropics, species are struggling to adapt to the rapid pace of change. Imagine coral reefs, once vibrant underwater cities teeming with life, now bleached and barren due to ocean warming and acidification. Picture iconic species like polar bears, their hunting grounds shrinking as sea ice melts, struggling to survive. Forests, vital carbon sinks that help regulate our climate, are under threat from deforestation and increasingly frequent and intense wildfires. As temperatures rise and rainfall patterns change, some species are forced to migrate to cooler climates or higher altitudes, disrupting delicate ecological balances. The loss of biodiversity is not just an environmental tragedy, it also has profound implications for human well-being. We rely on healthy ecosystems for clean air and water, food security, and medicine. The picture we've painted so far may seem bleak, but it's not a lost cause. We have the power to change course and chart a more sustainable path forward. The key lies in reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and transitioning to renewable energy. Imagine a world powered by the sun, wind, and water. We need to invest in energy efficiency and sustainable practices. From energy-efficient buildings to electric vehicles, the solutions are within reach. Governments, businesses, and individuals all have a role to play. While mitigating climate change is crucial, we also need to adapt to the changes already underway. Building climate resilience means preparing for extreme weather, ensuring our communities and infrastructure withstand shocks. Imagine coastal cities protected by seawalls and restored mangroves. Early warning systems provide crucial time to prepare, saving lives and reducing damage. Investing in climate-resilient infrastructure minimizes the impact of extreme weather. By taking proactive steps, we can reduce the vulnerability of our communities and ecosystems. Climate change is no longer a distant threat but a harsh reality. It's essential to acknowledge the urgency of the situation and take collective action to reduce emissions, build resilience, and promote climate justice. The science is clear, the impacts are undeniable, and the time for action is now. We've seen the devastating consequences of inaction, the human suffering, the economic losses, and the ecological devastation. But we've also witnessed the power of human ingenuity and the potential for positive change. The future of our planet depends on the choices we make today. Let us choose to act, to innovate, and to collaborate, ensuring a sustainable and equitable future for all. Thank you for watching the Rebellion Global. Stay informed, stay proactive.